the session recording as well. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining, and thank you Daryl once again for being the speaker with the New Delhi Salesforce Developer Group. So today the session is all about record triggered flows. And before we start with the session, let me introduce to our speaker, Daryl Moon. He's a Salesforce instructor, course designer, and consultant. He's a 5 Salesforce certified speaker and blogger. You can check out the blogs at certifycrm.com. And yeah, you can learn more about Salesforce, different perspectives, like what are flows, what are automations and stuff on his websites as well. So yeah, thank you once again, Daryl, for joining us, and we can move ahead with the presentation. Just a minute. Okay, it got stuck. Sorry. So yeah, New Delhi Salesforce Developer Group was started in Feb 2016, and this is these are the Twitter handles, the website where you can follow us and stay updated. And Impact Salesforce Saturday initiative has been a part of New Delhi Salesforce Developer Group, and which we conduct the knowledge sharing sessions each Saturday. And you can find all our past sessions as well as the coming sessions on our website. Link is mentioned here. Talent Central is an initiative taken by the New Delhi group. It works as a monster.com or naukri.com, you can consider, where like we help the freshers and experienced candidates who are looking for a transformation towards the Salesforce ecosystem. So we help them by like in their job hunt basically. So that's all about Talent Central. And this initiative, Let's Implement, has been again taken by the New Delhi group, where we help the students to learn a different Salesforce terminologies, the different applications of Salesforce. We help them getting certified, and again help them to get their first job or a first breakthrough in the ecosystem. Journey to Salesforce is an initiative taken by the Salesforce developer team itself, where they help the candidates who are working on other technologies or other domains and looking for a job change and want to switch to the Salesforce ecosystem. We would like to thank all our top contributors who help us in scheduling the sessions and like keeping all the things working. And these are the social handle where you can follow us and stay updated with the session recordings, the upcoming sessions. And I would like to thanks to our sponsor Cloud Vandana for the immense support. And thank you all once again for joining us. And thank you, Daryl, for being the speaker. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you kindly. Okay, I'm just going to switch to sharing my screen. Okay, I want screen number 2. Okay, so we should be able to see an account record here if I'm sharing the right screen.
Yes, Daryl. Perfect.
Awesome, thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Okay, so today's little challenge came from an email or a LinkedIn message that I received from one of my students. And the use case was they wanted to have an email address here on the account record. Okay, and you can see down here that we've got one filled in for the account record. However, as we know, accounts don't really have email addresses because they don't belong to a business as such. They normally belong to a contact record. So in this circumstance, what this student wanted is for a related contact's email address to appear here. Okay, so a related contact, if we have a look at the schema builder, let's see where this, so there's what the related contact looks like, but let's just jump to the schema builder and just see where this fits. Okay, so we have an account record on the left. We have a contact record on the right. In the middle, we have what's called a junction object. And that says, okay, this is what joins the account and the contact. And it has a relationship. Now, the reason why we have this junction object is because we could have many different records in here, and it's focused on this multi-select pick list here of role. So one contact can have many different roles for the same account. Okay, if there was only one role, then of course we wouldn't need this junction object, but in this circumstance, they can have multiple different roles. Let's just jump to not the account, but we actually want to go to the account contact relationship object. So this is that object, that junction that sits between the two. And we just want to have a look at the values that we could have for role. Note this is a multi-select pick list. Anybody who's done any reporting in Salesforce will know how horrible these are to report on because they have multiple values in them. Okay, so here are the pick list values. So the contact could be a business user. That's their relationship with that account. They could be the decision maker. The one that we're interested in is this one here. They are the economic decision maker. So they're the one who's making the money decisions. So when a contact has that relationship between the account and contact, we want to use their email address in the account record. So back here. Okay, so that's the use case where the related contact is the economic decision maker. Use that email address. Okay, so that's reasonably straightforward. So let's have a look at our flow and see what we need to do there. So I've got one already prepared because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, or 3:30, and I've just had a little snooze because I've been busy out in the garden. So I'm not quite as bright as I normally am. Okay, let's have a look inside the start element. So our object is that account contact relationship. This is where we are going to start our record triggered flow, okay? So whenever a record is created or updated in this account contact relationship and the role contains economic decision maker. This is an important one here. Because this is a multi-select pick list, it will never equal a single value, okay? You must use contains. Normally we would say, if this field equals that, then we want to do something. But because it's a multi-select pick list, we need to use contains. I made the mistake, I used equal, couldn't get it to work, scratched my head, thought, oh, hang on, it's the multi-select pick list, the evil thing, needs something different. Okay, so whenever one of these account contact relationships is created or updated, and the condition is the role contains economic decision maker, and only run it when a record is updated and it meets these conditions. So if the record already had those conditions, then obviously we don't need to update the account all over again. If the value is already there, there's no point overriding it with the same value each time. Okay, so only when it's changed and now the role contains that, then we're going to do an update. And we've got two choices for our update. we can do a fast field update, which is really fast. Or if we're working on a related record, we can use that. The reason why we have to use this one is because we are wanting to update a related record. Okay, we're triggering on account contact relationship, but we are updating the related account record. So not the same record, so we can't use the fast field update. Okay, so something's happened, a new relationship's been created. The role is economic decision maker. Good, that's one that we want. We need that email address. So we're going to get a contact record where the following conditions are met, where the ID equals the contact ID in the record that we have. Let's have a look at that. I'll just remove that and let's just see what we're talking about in here. So because this is a record triggered flow, we've automatically got a dollar record global variable here that contains all of the fields for that record that triggered it, okay, which is the account contact relationship. Select that, and within that, we've got all of those fields that are in this junction object. The only one we need is our contact ID. We only need to get our first record, and we'll let Salesforce automatically store all fields. Okay, so we're getting our record by ID. So that gets us our contact record. Okay, so we've now got that. And we now want to update the account record. We're going to specify what conditions that we want to identify our records and set our field. Okay, so the object type that we're going to update is the account, where the ID equals the account ID. Again, let's have another look at that. So in our global dollar record, same one as we had before when we did the get contact, we can view here our account ID. Somewhere here, there it is. Okay. And the field that we are going to update is that new field that we created for account email. Okay, this is not a standard field, as you can see by the _C on the end. That's a custom field. And the value that we're going to put in there comes from our get contact. Let's have a look at that. So I'll just remove that. And here's our get contact. Okay, so this is a single record variable. That's the contact that we got from the previous step. And we can scroll through the fields on there to select our email. There's our email. Okay, so that's it. It's a fairly simple little flow. Type of thing that you might have done before in a process builder. You couldn't do it in a workflow because it's cross-object, but you could have done something like this in process builder. But of course, nowadays, we're doing everything in flow. Okay, so there's our flow. We'll just quickly go through it once more. We're selecting our account contact relationship when a record's updated or created, and the role contains economic decision maker. Only when a record's been updated and now contains that value, we're going to update a related record. First, we grab the contact that is in that relationship, Okay, in that junction object, we get the contact record. Reason why we get that is because we want that email address, and then we go into our update account and we update the account record with the email address that we got from back here. Okay. I don't need to activate it. That's already been activated before. Okay, let's go and have a look at and see it in action. So here we have an existing one. So that one's already done. That one's not going to do anything. Let's have a look at Edge Communications. Do we have an email address? Yes, we do, because we have a related contact. So we'll pick one that doesn't have. We'll try our test account. Okay, no related contacts here. So we're going to create a new relationship here. Here's our related list. So we're basically creating a junction object between the account and contact here. So we're going to add a new relationship between our test account. They're going to be the economic decision maker. We choose that and we select our contact. So here's our two objects. So remember, it's a junction object. It's a junction between account and contact. And we've got multiple roles that we can have. The only one that we're interested in is this economic decision maker. And I'll find somebody here we'll call Purple Prims and we'll add them in. Okay. Oh, she doesn't have an email. We better fix that. Okay, let's go back to our account, which was, I think, this one. Okay, we haven't got an email in there because when we created that junction, there was no email, was there? So what we can do is we can delete it because we've added the email afterwards. So we'll remove that relationship and we'll just add it back in again. There she is. This time she's got an email address. Save the record. Go back to our test account and now we have an email address for her. Okay, so our flow is working as we wanted it. As I said, this is a pretty simple one. However, we've now got all of these other accounts that don't have any values in them. Okay, so how are we going to update all of those? Well, what we can do is take a look at the data loader, and let me just drag that across to this screen. And I've already logged in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export the account contact relationship, all the records from there. We'll update them. We'll load them back up and we'll then have email addresses for these. Now, just before we do that, we might change this list view. Let's call it all accounts. And let's put the email address field in here so that we can see when it's been completed. So here's that new field. We might just move it up a bit to there. Okay, so you can see that I've done a couple already, but all of these other ones don't have a value there yet. So we'll go back to our data loader. That's hiding in there. Here we go. Okay, and we want to export the account contact relationship, but it's not shown here because it just shows us the common objects. We need to show all Salesforce objects to be able to see it. And if we scroll a little bit, here it is, our account contact relationship. I'll find somewhere to put it. I'll put it there in my downloads folder. already exists. That's okay. Now, the only fields that I need is the ID. Now, don't be confused by these two, because those are the two IDs that belong to the related records. This is the ID of the account contact relationship. And we want the role. Okay, so we really only need those two fields. We'll proceed with that. And it says we've got 16 successful extractions. Great. I'll just open that file and in Excel, and I'll drag it across over here. Okay, so the other ones, so there are some other records there, they just have other in that relationship. So I'm going to copy this value, this economic decision maker value, to all of these records. I'll save that. Yes, we'll keep using CSV, thank you. And now we'll use that file to update our account contact relationships. Select our file. Next, it's going to contain 16 records, yes. Okay, we need to map these two fields. We can auto match those. It will do it automatically for us if the names are exactly right, which they should be, because we did an extract, edit it, and then put it back. So we can do that, or you can manually drag the fields that you want. Okay, so we're saying in our new field, we're matching ID with ID and role with role. Okay, next. Finish, yes, and now we'll go and update those records. Okay, thank you. Put our data loader away, do a refresh here, and we should see some. Okay, so there was another one, I think it was this one here, came in as well. Okay, so some of those relationships have been updated now, so some of those ones that are in the background. Let's just double check on this one. Okay, so we didn't have a related contact here. So let's just relate another one here. So we're not adding a new contact, we're just adding a new relationship. Hopefully this one that we picked this time will have a, let's just try this. We've got two different values here. We've got economic decision maker and we've got economic buyer. If we select both of them, what do you think is going to happen? Is it going to work? Let's see. Remember what value we used in our selection. We used a contains because it was a multi-select pick list. Okay, Ace has an email address, which is good. And yes, it did work. It did update the record. That was because our selection in the flow, we just go back to our flow. Back here, we use the operator contains economic decision maker. So in fact, in our relationship on this one now, there'll be two values in there, but because we've used contains, it's able to look in there and say, okay, I know there's two values in there, but does one of them contain the value economic decision maker? And the answer to that obviously is yes. Okay, so today's flow is a pretty simple one. However, one of the things that you always need to remember is what happens to all of those existing records that need to be updated as well. And I've just shown you how we can use the data loader to extract those values, update them, put them back again, and then you've got everything properly synchronized. Okay, so again, a pretty simple little flow. However, it has solved the problem. was triggered by that account contact relationship. We got our contact. Reason why we wanted to get that is because we wanted to get that email address. Then we updated our account record with that email address. Okay. That's where we passed across that. And we used our dollar record values here to pull these values back. Okay, short and sharp one today, pretty easy one. I'll pass you back to our host and let's see if we've got any comments and questions about the flow. Where's our host gone?
Hey, hi, Daryl, I can hear you.
Oh, here he is.
Yeah.
Okay, have we got any questions for today? If not, we can.
Yes. Yeah, maybe I can just ping the Kahoot quiz code in the chat. Just allow me a minute.
Hi, Daryl. Can I just straight away ask a question?
Certainly.
All right. So when you updated the records using the data loader, right? So it
Yes.
said 16 records were updated, but however, when I saw the list of all accounts, it only displayed 12. So I'm confused about those 4 extra records which were updated using the data loader.
Yes, that was a bit confusing to me too. What were all those other relationships, I wonder?
Right.
Where were they? I'm not sure if we have a account contact. No, I thought we might have had a excuse me. I thought we might have had a view that would show us what those account contact relationships were. I only have a very small number of accounts. Perhaps there are some that have multiple relationships. No, there's only one on that one. That would be my suggestion, is that maybe some of these accounts, there's only one on there, some of these have multiple relationships and it was only picking up one of them, would be my suggestion. Okay, so this one has a relationship there and that's pulled one through, yes. I'll go back to our all accounts view. I just want to look at one that doesn't have one. Yeah, and well, I suppose we could go back to the spreadsheet, or we could export them again and get the IDs for those accounts, and we could figure out which accounts they were and what were those relationships. They may well be, perhaps they are even on our all accounts. Maybe we've got that filtered to show only active ones. Ah, okay. Only showing business accounts. Ah, there they are. Okay, now we've got some more. Yes, I was worried about that too. And I thought, oh, gee, where have all those other ones gone? Okay, so yes, there are some more there now. Cool. Good question. Thank you for that.
Right. So what happened actually?
Yeah, so that this view was filtered, that was all. It was only showing business accounts. So
Got
those
it.
other ones that were updated were just hidden from our view, that was all.
Cool. Got it.
Thank you, Daryl, for addressing the question, and thank you, Shivanshi, my bad, sorry, for the question. And the Kahoot code and the link has been pinged in the chat. Please do join it. I can share the screen. Yeah, we can just wait for a few more seconds.
This is always the exciting part, isn't it? Who wins the prize?
Yeah. So yeah, we can just start with the quiz. Record trigger flows. And here comes the first question for the day. Why did we need to run the data loader update to correct existing records? This was one of the few things mentioned by Daryl in the initial starting of the session. So let's see how many people remember that.
Yeah. So how to answer this exactly?
You can select, actually, you can select these, like you can see the different colors, right? Different shapes and color on your device. So you need to click on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. We can move to the next question. Could we have used the formula for this?
Maybe.
Oh,
Ooh,
actually,
yes, no. Should have used Apex. Oh, not for me.
yeah.
No, I'm definitely a flow first person. Oh, look, there's a couple of developers there, isn't there? Always. Come on, guys, we don't need to write Apex for something as simple as that. But we could have, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But you got to write a test class, you got to deploy it to production. Come on, it's much simpler than that. Okay, why couldn't we just use a before triggered flow? Good question.
Okay, we need to update a deleted record, that's why.
Exactly right.
Okay, Rahul is doing well. What was used to match the rule in the flow and conditions?
Oh, come on, I
Okay.
expect a good result on this one. We mentioned this many times. Was it equals, matches, contains, or not equal?
Oh.
Yay, well done.
Good to see maximum correct answers. Yeah.
Remember, it wasn't equals because it was that multi-select pick list.
What is the reason for the operator in the previous question? Oh my god. So Daryl has already discussed something about that. Let's see.
Oh, we should get a good result here. If you don't get the joke in number 4, Steve Moe said so. Oh, look, everybody got that right. If you didn't get the joke is that Steve Moe, that's Steve Mollis, he's a Salesforce MVP many times. He hates multi-select pick lists. So if you ever see anything in the community about multi-select pick lists, you'll see Steve hates them because they are really they're really nasty when you try to report on them.
Okay. So yeah, we have the last question for the day. What is the difference between defining the record ID variable as a text versus defining it as a record?
Okay, so what we're talking about here is that, and in fact, we didn't actually use this one in this particular flow. However, in many of our flows, we do pass the record ID across from the record page that we're on into our flow. And traditionally, we've always done that as a text value. Okay, but all we get then in our flow is that ID. Now, and I don't know when this came in, I think it's only in the last couple of releases, you can actually define that record ID variable as a record, not as a text value, and then you get the entire record available to you. So you don't have to then go back and do another get record. Okay, so this is really important, particularly on screen flows. When you define that record ID, and remember it has to have that capital I, everything else is lowercase, it's one of those special values that passes, you know, let's say you're on a contact record and you're going to run a screen flow, you need to pass the ID of that contact record down into your flow, and you do that with this record ID variable. Early on, we were always taught that we define that as text. Now we know, hey, it's better if you actually define it as a record. And we got one person got that right, okay? But hopefully you've learned something there through that explanation for next time.
Yep. Thank you, Daryl, for explaining that for our participants. So here we get the results of the quiz, and the winner is Rahul. Okay, he has been quite consistent, having 5 out of 6 correct answers. And thank you so much, Rahul. Yeah, thank you, Rahul, for participating, and thank you all for participating in the quiz.